Good morning, everybody. Enter the stars. Welcome to the channel. I just want to say thank you for keeping up with the videos. It's imperative that you stay current with all of the videos. Why? Because so much is happening. I'm doing everything I can to keep up. So when you guys watch the videos, it really helps. Now, we've got a lot going on right now. This is a very important live show. And as we know, every show is a blessing, because at any moment they could pull the whole thing down. Now, we have backup contingencies in place, but I have a feeling that this will intensify in the coming days and weeks, and they will be wiping off people from the entire internet in very short order here. As time progresses, they will have no choice, because anyone that stands in their way from the agenda that they are trying to push, they will want to silence. And that includes all of the backup sites and other alternative media websites. I believe that those will all be taken down in one fell swoop at a certain point. And so I don't put any of my eggs in one basket. But the first thing I wanted to cover with you guys, now that I know that we are live, is very important. This is from the series The 100. And this is the end of season 3. This aired in 2016. And what you're looking at is a scene from the City of Light. And what it is it's an artificial city that is inside of the artificial intelligence mainframe. I guess you can call it like a synthetic reality, kind of like a matrix reality. And this is where everybody goes once they take the chip or take this pill that they swallow. It goes into their body and integrates them into the hive mind. And you will see here that in this synthetic reality, there are the 99 red balloons. Now, we'll be covering this in full detail on a show, I think Friday. I've actually already got a montage put together for upcoming shows for this series. So if you are following the decodes on the series, The 100, you're definitely going to want to watch this one. What are the 99 red balloons? Well, in about 2017, a year after this episode aired, we started noticing this 99 red balloon meme, I guess you can call it. There was an eclipse that happened in 2017, and where they launched all these balloons during the eclipse. They were doing some kind of testing on some kind of bacteria. And we began warning everybody on this channel that there would soon be a spam-demic. And sure enough, several years later, exactly what we said was going to happen happened. The red balloons represented the plague. It represented disease and pestilence. And we were talking all about this. Now, if you're not sure about those videos, just type in red balloons on this channel. You will find all the videos and everything we talked about, warning people that CV-19 was coming. We didn't say exactly what it was, but we saw the writing on the wall. Now, these red balloons ended up becoming the Johns Hopkins death map. And we saw those red balloons scattered across the gray globe. And so this was all foreshadowing. Now, how does this tie into the 100? Well, this AI becomes a virus. It becomes contagious as more and more people are mind controlled by this pill that causes them to integrate into the AI and to lose all of their emotions and to begin to turn on the people around them. Like I said, we'll go into this in far more detail in upcoming shows. But let's get to the between the headlines. Now, this is crazy because California, as we speak, is now putting together legislation for a sticker law. Now, what does this mean for the people of California? Well, look out, because what we're going to read next, they will need a system of verification. Some kind of, do you think it could be blockchain? Do you think that's why they've been pushing this so much? Some kind of verification system that is unhackable, untraceable. That is what I believe is where all this is headed. This is all mentioned in this draft of this law. And what they're going to say in here too is that these would be mandatory stickers to enter hotels, bars, restaurants, and gyms, amongst other places. Now, the author of this new legislation, his name is Pan, Richard Pan to be exact, and he has a history of drafting other laws in the past about which stickers children would need to attend school. So you can imagine that he is considering the children. Now, my belief is that they might be sitting on this legislation for a little bit, just to wait and see if the emergency use authorization for children is passed, so that they can then integrate the children into this law as well as a requirement to go to school. That's where I believe all this is headed. That way they can mandate it all together, pass the law for adults and children. Now, how do I know that this is the agenda? Well, we're seeing and being flooded with articles like this. This is from the New York Times. Why is it taking so long to get a sticker for the children? As children around the country head back to school, there's been disappointing news for parents and children younger than 12. While many health experts had hoped for an early fall approval of the sticker for children, two of the nation's top public health officials said it's not going to happen. So they are pushing for this to be approved before the children go back to school, and that's just one step away from mandating it for them to go back to school. They've already done it in colleges, and as soon as they get approval, this is what's going to happen to our children. Now, there's been all this hype in the media about CV-19 cases in children. And then there's this article. This could possibly be the first U.S. parent to lose custody of her child for not getting the sticker. Now, we told you this was going to happen as well, that this is where everything was headed. This is the Washington Post. Now, just because I've got Yahoo articles pulled up here doesn't mean that Yahoo sources its news from itself. If it does, I'll tell you. But these are all mainstream articles, and that's all that matters. What matters is that this is the information that the world is seeing. Not that I believe everything that they're saying, because we read between the headlines. But I get naysayers sometimes saying, oh, you get your news from Yahoo. No, they're just a portal for other mainstream news. That's what they do. Now let's keep going with this, because a judge asked a mother if she got the sticker, and she said no. And he revoked custody of her son. I told you guys this was going to happen. I know it's the most horrible thing to imagine happening to a parent, but it is happening, and it will happen. It's a lot like the plot line of the 100. How do they get people to swallow the pill? In the 100, they hurt the ones they love and take away the ones they love. That's in the plot line of the 100. When Rebecca joined a virtual court hearing with her ex-husband, the Chicago mother expected the proceeding to focus on child support, but the judge had other plans. One of the first things he asked me was whether or not I was stickered. She was not, she said, explaining that she had reactions to stickers in the past and that a doctor advised her against getting the sticker. It poses a risk, she asked. The judge then made what parents' attorneys called an unprecedented decision. He said the mother could not see her 11-year-old son until she got the sticker. The father is stickered. So, we are here. We are now living in a new reality. This is it. Now, I know some people say, we're not quite in the tribulation yet, but when a mother is taken away from her child for a choice that she's made to stand up for something that she believes in, that is when we have entered the tribulation. We are on the cusp. Now, let's go back to this article, because this is very important. They are marching towards a predetermined outcome. Mandatory stickers to every man, woman, and child in America. Now, what bothers me about what we're about to read is that they're even in this legislation planning for future boosters and beyond. Endless sticker regiment for life. That's where this is headed. Let's read this article. LA Times. California lawmakers grapple with whether to impose a statewide sticker mandate. After ceding power to nuisance through the spamdemic, state lawmakers are now considering one of the most politically challenging mandates yet, requiring Californians to show proof of a sticker to enter many indoor business establishments and forcing workers to get stickered or regularly tested. Democratic legislators leading the conversation at the state rabbit hole believe mandates provide an opportunity to improve sticker rates and help lessen the effect of blah, blah, blah. But the proposal, which is still in draft form and has not been introduced in a bill, requires weighing serious considerations, such as, and these are the key words that should send chills through everyone's spines: enforcement, costs, implementation, the political will of the legislature, and how a statewide mandate could help or hurt nuisances' chances of beating back a recall. There's literally nothing more personal than taking a sticker. They admit it. They admit how, if they were to pass a law like this, that it would be the most personal thing that they could ever do in passing a law. They admit it. See, there's something different. Even though a lot of people disagree with one person marrying the same person of the same gender, a lot of people would not picket or stand in front of the Capitol or things like that, because that's a personal choice that somebody's making. Even though we don't agree with it, you can't make somebody else do something that you want them to do because you don't agree with whatever it is they do, unless it's hurting someone else. The polls were against that in California when they put the polls out there and they asked people what they thought, but they pushed it through anyway. Here we are on the flip side of that. What is it, 15, 20 years later? And now we have another thing, another issue, and they feel like they can force this on us? Now, down here, they talk about how they're going to basically verify this. Let's keep reading here. Since the original stay-at-home order was implemented last year, the governor has largely guided the state's response to the spamdemic and implemented most statewide restrictions, mandates, and other rules through the executive order. The state has already ordered healthcare workers must be fully stickered and require school employees and state workers to be stickered or submit regular tests. For the time being, Nuisance and his aides are quietly watching and providing technical assistance in talking about this mandate. We're still not sure if we're going to introduce legislation at the end of session. They said in an interview Thursday, there are a lot of conversations around what is the right policy. Whether such legislation is introduced and passes or not, discussion about sticker mandates is helping to inform Nuisance and his team as they work to respond to the rapidly changing landscape. Within just 2 weeks left in the legislature for them to adjourn for the year, debates over the proposal threatens to swallow the end of session in Sacramento, potentially prevent lawmakers from addressing other important issues. Leaked unofficial drafts of the bill had already inspired criticism on Wednesday and brought back memories of years previous when protesters swarmed the Capitol in opposition to sticker bills. And some lady did something else, as you can see on your screen. Now, let's keep going with this, because it gets even more sinister. I did warn Assemblywoman Wick said, anytime you talk about stickers, people take notice. Yeah. So, it looks like Wick's draft proposal, she had introduced a series of bills throughout his legislative career to strengthen sticker requirements for schools that made him a routine target for anti-sticker protesters. Richard Pan, a pediatrician, said lawmakers are exploring various measures to slow the spread. He said passing a sticker bill this late in the legislative session is a heavy lift, but that there is enough uncertainty about what will happen in the coming months to potentially reach consensus to act now. This is the guy that made the policies for other sticker laws for school children. So they're going to try to squeeze this into this session. It says we're going to be out until January, and you look at the fact that these children are in school and winter is coming. Pan said, winter is coming. Do you recognize that phrase? The dark winter. We are hearing from folks that it would be helpful for a state to create rules and have guidance. At this point, it's an ongoing discussion on whether it's best to codify these things. Critics of sticker mandates have already begun launching their opposition, which comes shortly after the protests at the Crappet Hole against the requirement that health workers be stickered. There will be extremely large pushback. Floyd said one aspect that lawmakers will have to consider is mandating a sticker with boosters. So all of this is being talked about. How many boosters will you need? How often? There will never be time when it's sufficient. How do you monitor all this? There's your monitoring and tracking. And how can you assume everyone stickered has immunity? So this is what they're all talking about, you guys. This is straight up 1984. The Times obtained a draft of the bill that calls, the earlier version calls for anyone entering a bar, restaurant, gym, hotel, event center, sports arena, to show proof that he has been fully stickered. Now, they want you to believe that you can't go anywhere if you don't get stickered. There, as you see here, the hotels, and actually right now as we speak, hotels are requiring it. Some hotels are already mandating this, as you can see with this headline right here. And of course, this is the first step in a mobile passport tied to your anticipated destination and freedom to travel. So far, they've left alone any essential things that you need, like church or grocery store, things like that. But when it comes to your traveling now, going out of state, going out, traveling across the United States, they left the airlines alone so far, and now they're going for hotels, because where are you going to stay when you get there? If this becomes a mandate to stay in a hotel, then you're done. We're all done. Now you don't get to see your family for standing up for your own bodily autonomy. As travelers prepare for their next vacation, among the essentials to take along with them is a toothbrush, blah, blah, blah. As CV cases, sir, see, they always have to put that in there. A small number of hotels in the United States have announced that they will require proof of sticker from guests and staff. Public Hotel, Equinox Hotel, Wyeth Hotel. These are in New York, most of them so far. Massachusetts. Unbelievable. So, this is where things are at. Our travel freedoms are now beginning to be infringed upon based on choices you make about your own health. Now, see if there's anything else in this article before we move on to the parents. It also calls for all employees, job applicants, and independent contractors to show proof that they are fully stickered or take a weekly test to prove a negative result. Tests would be paid for by the employee's existing health insurance or through federal, state, and local funds. According to the draft, employers would be required to provide an additional 24 hours of sick leave for workers to go to sticker appointments. Now they are getting a $500 up to $500 per day per employee tax write-off. So here's the little, I guess you call it, little perk that these corporations will get. Minimum 24 hours. So that's $500 per person in their company, up to 500 employees. Those who are too young to be stickered or a person with a valid medical reason will be exempt from the provisions. So you have to have a valid medical reason, which I'm sure they're not giving out much of these, right? You can't just say you don't want it, or you can't just say, oh, I had a reaction. You have to have a doctor sign off on that. So it's at their discretion. And the doctors are even being incentivized to really push these stickers. Why? Because they could lose their medical license. Now, they're being threatened with their medical licenses. So, chances that you're going to get some kind of exemption are close to none. They're even rejecting religious exemptions in many cases, asking people to prove what church they go to. And are they on the membership rolls? Do you see how this works? The draft bill is listed as an urgency measure, which will allow it to take effect immediately if passed by 2/3 of the lawmakers. So, expect that there will be some kind of verification system in all of this. There will be specific mandates that will include the boosters. They will include probably an add to the list of places where you'll need this. And this is the beginning of the end. God help the people that live in California. 2017, we were telling people escape. Escape from LA, escape from New York. Those are the two places where this is coming down the hardest. Now, this sticker law flies in the face of parents and their outcries about the masks. These school boards won't even allow parents' wishes to be voted on. They're pushing it through. And why do I think that's the case? Well, I think that parents understand that if the masks are mandated, then the stickers will be next. They're making their stand. Here's the Google search on all of the parents in these school board meetings opposing the mask mandate all across the nation. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of local stories of parents attending school board meetings. Upset parents that the mainstream media won't cover unless they cover it in a negative light. Look at all these stories. 30,000 search results for parents attend school board meeting to oppose mask mandates. 30,000 search results all across the nation. Conservative areas, liberal areas. This isn't a right-leaning issue. There are people in California attending school board meetings opposing the mandates, and not one of these school boards is allowing the parents to vote against it and removing it unless the governor has something in place to block mask mandates. Now that you've seen the truth about what the local medias across the nation are reporting about local school board meetings and how parents are opposing these mandates, now let's look at how the mainstream media depicts these parents. A decision no parent should ever have to make. Families are suing over the mask mandate bans. Samantha Bover's 4-year-old son, Porter, has made so much progress since he's been diagnosed with autism, and he was assigned to a general preschool classroom this fall. So when Bowers dropped him off for his first day of school earlier this week, she wanted to feel all the emotions a parent should. Excitement, pride, and relief. The only thing I felt was heartrending fear. Because I didn't know if he would be safe. Oh, forget about everything else that happens in schools. Forget about, the bullying that's been happening that nobody wants to address. And forget about schools' policies on bullying being very lax and lame and doing nothing to the bully. And in fact, encouraging it because it toughens the kids up. Forget about all that and your child being safe. Creating lifelong emotional problems for that child as they're humiliated and bullied. And the teachers aren't even watching. And you guys know what I'm talking about. And then when the parent gets involved and goes, I'm not going to allow this to happen, and you demand something to be done, you're made to look like the bad guy. Teachers are not watching these children in school. How is this bullying allowed to happen? They should all be taking classes on body language and how a withdrawn student needs to be watched and monitored to make sure they're okay. And body language of bullies out on the school grounds. The teacher should be watching these children while they're out on the playground to ensure that our children are safe if we're sending our children to school. Yet that doesn't happen because bullying is still happening. You would think with something as simple as bullying that could have already been eradicated from schools. Yet they have our focused on the 0.5% of incidents where someone brings a GUN to school. That's everybody's focus when every single day our children are being traumatized by bullies. Now, some people disagree with me on that. But guess what? That's because you're a survivor. But even the people that disagree with me on bullying cannot deny the fact that they themselves have been desensitized and changed forever. They've basically essentially been turned into an overpowering bullying personality. Every person that you see that stands up or that defends bullying, they have the very same bullying type of personality. So that just proves the point. They do not have the likeness of Jesus, the loving person who doesn't have a bullying bone in their body. In fact, he says to anyone who harms the children, that would include bullies, that there will be a millstone tied around their neck. That's what we're supposed to be saying about the children, not defending bullying, thinking it's going to make us tougher. And if they can't do that, this is the hypocrisy of this. Now they're saying, let's go back to this article. Sorry, you guys. Porter's disability puts him at heightened risk of getting sick from the CV. So, this poor... Well, then homeschool the child then. If you're so afraid that this child is going to get sick at school, homeschool them. Or how about you take personal responsibility, and if you're going to send your child to school, maybe have them put in a different classroom or put a bio suit on them. I don't know. If you're that scared, put them in a bio suit. Then you'll be sure they're not going to catch anything. But to put this on everybody else is just not fair. Look at how else they depict parents showing up to school board meetings. Hostile school board meetings have members calling it quits. And then, of course, they pick the most unflattering picture that looks really bad. This poor, this woman here. And this is all intentional. This is all intentional imagery to make people afraid of these people and to make it look like they're rare. This is just a fringe group going to these school board meetings. No, they're not. This is America going to these school board meetings. But look at what the mainstream media does to these people. They want to depict you as far right people who could intention or who could possibly harm someone. That's the way they want you to see these people. Unbelievable. What do we have here? Now, keep in mind that even in the most anti-mask states, school boards are not budging on this policy, which means it's probably above their heads. Now, all of this is happening in the wake of scientists not even agreeing on whether or not a booster is needed. This science is completely fluid. It changes every month. The science is changing. The sticker companies in the U.S. are already projected to rake in billions from the initial round of doses globally, with billions more projected for the booster market. But some analysts and experts view the need for boosters with caution. I don't think it's an annual market. Shouldn't be. This one doctor says, "Oh, careful what you say. You might lose your license." Unbelievable. So they can't even agree on if we need boosters or not. Now, this last story that I have for you guys today is an update on what's going on in Japan with the strange substance found inside the stickers. Now, I'm just going to read this article. Reuters, mainstream article. Production of MoDRNA stickers at a plant in Spain can continue, the EU regulator said on Friday while it carries out its investigation of suspected metallic contamination incident. Japan on Thursday suspended the use of 1.63 million doses shipped to 863 sticker sites nationwide. More than a week after the domestic distributor, Takeda Pharmaceutical, received reports of contaminants in some of the vials. The contaminants found in a batch delivered to Japan is believed to be a metallic particle. This is mainstream news, you guys. The public broadcaster reported. Now, there have been a couple of deaths associated with this. I'm wondering if they're going to mention it in this article here. It was investigating the incident of the Spanish plant run by Rovi, but did not find reasons to seek temporary suspension of production after its initial assessment. An investigation of the root causes ongoing. Provide more investigation. They delivered all these stickers. And originally, they were reporting that a couple people had died. Let me see what it says here. Here's the Japanese investigation. Notice how they break this out away from the rest of the story, almost to seem to try to contain or isolate the story so that you can choose whether or not to believe the Japanese investigation. An report published late Thursday cited health ministry sources as saying the contaminant was believed to be a particle that reacted to magnets and was therefore suspected to be metal. Particulate matter that did not pose a safety or efficacy issue. The composition of the contaminant has not been confirmed. They're going to investigate the issue. News of the contaminant could prove a fresh setback for Japan's inoculation drive as it struggles to persuade people. On Friday, 8 more prefectures entered a state of emergency, meaning 80% of its Okay, so let's get into this. Okay. Let's do a quick search on this because I want to complete this. Japan. Here we go. Two die in Japan after the sticker from suspended MoDRNA stickers. Japan government. Notice how they break this out. They don't want you to believe their government now. This is their government saying this is the message they send with this headline. So in fact, they are saying 2 people died. Now, as far as I know, this is one of the first times that any mainstream outlet has conceded by any stretch of the imagination that a sticker could actually cause a death. This is one of the first times. Before they were saying, oh, there's no causal relation or this or that. We've had a couple with other instances, but this is crazy, you guys. Now, I don't know how this fits into the other things that people have said, but this is crazy. We're going to follow this story as it emerges and develops. All right, you guys, let's go into the chat for a little bit. Now, these are trying times, but always remember the way out is Jesus Christ. Nothing they can do to your body will last into into heaven and the new earth. So stay strong. Faith in Christ is all that matters. Absolutely. Now, I don't know if how this is going to all shake out. They're saying they're calling it a metallic substance. It's so weird how when this whole debate came up, I said, why doesn't someone just take a magnet and stick it up to a vial to see if anything sticks to it? And here we are 3 months later, and that's exactly what they did in Japan. This is unbelievable. I can't even believe this is mainstream news. But here it is. Now, will they ever get to the bottom of it? Who knows? They could just be doing this to gaslight us. I don't know the answers to all of this. At the end of the day, all that matters is the choice that you make, whether or not to get it or not. And you guys know where I stand, and I can't tell you where I stand, but you know. And you have to make a personal decision for yourself. Everything else is just icing on the cake. Everything else is pretty much doesn't matter because you know in your heart what the right thing is to do. So fighting over what may be this and what might not be that is counterproductive. That's how they divide us. That's how they get everybody divided, and we can't all come together and stand behind one principle, and that is the choice that we make, right? So, wow, this is just crazy. All right, you guys. I appreciate all of you showing up. We'll be back on here tomorrow. We're going to be talking about, what else do we have here? Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Is there more to this show? I think I was going to talk to you about... Is this the show where I was going to tell you guys about, or like really see it here? But I was going to do a show showing you guys where we came up with the name EntertheStars. I think this is the show. We're going to go ahead and cover that today. A lot of people ask, where do you get the name EntertheStars? I'm going to tell you the whole story. Now, right about 2012, when we started this channel, and we've jumped around a bit on the other channels, but we started this channel that you're on now in 2012. You can go back and look. It's like 2011, 2012, right before the year where everybody thought the world was going to end. And that's kind of when I began my awakening. YouTube was a very different place back then. And I believe that, well, let me start from the beginning. So I had gone through some challenges in this life. I was coming to the end of my career in the medical industry. I was seeing the lies. I was seeing the gross spiritual feeling that I had to wake up to every day. And that I was chasing after the wind. And that there was no end point to all this. And that's when God began to open my eyes. I made a promise to God that if he showed me the truth of why we feel like we're spinning in circles in this life, why all of the doors seem to just close in around us all the time, even when we make a little bit of headway in this life, Why is it so hard to hold on to our children and their affection and their love and to help steer them? Why is life so unfair? And these were the prayers that I made to God. And I said, God, please show me the truth. Show me the truth about this reality. And I promise you that no matter what, I will always share that truth with anybody who will listen. Now, one day I'll probably release some of the very first videos we did on this channel. They're on private right now. But it's me and a camera in 2012, just talking about one of the first things that we realized was the Book of Enoch, and that it was in fact inspired of God. Now, if you don't believe me, I'm actually going to show you how the Book of Daniel, the Archangel Michael actually quoted from the Book of Enoch. That's what I'm going to show you next, and this all dovetails in with Enter the Stars. Now, there are some synchronicities in my life. This was one of the very first synchronicities that I found, and then I found that the synchronicity universe is inspired of God. But in this reality, evil and good, the evil one tries to recreate the synchronicity. What is so important about synchronicity? It's how God shows us that he is in complete control. The synchronicities and the fact that nothing is by accident. And as you begin to grow in the spirit, you begin to see more and more and more of the synchronicities until you're at a place where you know, be still and know that he is God. Now, what should you not do with the synchronicities? You're not supposed to try to predict the future. You stay in the now, and sometimes when you're in the now, the things that you said will emerge and come back around, kind of like with the red balloons and how we tried to warn everybody that the exodus needed to happen in 2017, before the lumber prices went through the roof, before the land prices went through the roof, when everyone still had the opportunity to move out of the cities and into the countrysides, into the South. We were saying that in 2017. We did a lot of videos on that. And now people are wishing they would have done that. Now, I didn't try to predict that. I was simply being in the now, seeing God through the synchronicities in my life, in all of your lives. There's one particular video that comes to mind called The God Hour. And I remember just being blown away with all the comments when we made that discovery. How at 42 years old, the date that you'd come up with for your God hour in your life synchronized with the people in your own individual lives. For some of you, it was the day you got married. For some of you, it was the day you got divorced. For others, it was the day your child was born. And I was blown away by that, because it was like the hand of God was reaching down. And he was fulfilling the promise that he made. Now you know why I'm so faithful, why I get up and do this every single day. Because I made a promise that I would. And every time the channel comes under threat, I think about me not being able to fulfill that promise. Are you guys back with me? Let me continue, because it looks like we got thrown off. So I look back to see how it all connected together. And that's when we begin to see the truth emerge. And how God has his hand in every bit of it. And that's been the journey of this channel. That has been the journey. All of us together, not just me, all of us together. Now, where did the name Enter the Stars come from? Gosh, we've been under attack for so long. Sometimes it just feels like one big blur. People saying, oh, he believes in astrology. That's what that means. No, it doesn't. We're not to live our lives by the stars. Let me be clear. The name came from some synchronicities. One of the first that I found in my life was a connection to, like, Bruce Lee. The year he died was the year I was born. But he entered the dragon. And right about that time, I was reading in the book of Enoch, as you can see here in chapter 43, and it talks about the stars in heaven. I'm going to read this now. I beheld another splendor and the stars of heaven. I observed that he called them all by their respective names, and that they heard. Now, understand that the word splendor means brightness. In a righteous balance, I saw that he weighed out with their light the amplitude of their places. In other words, how bright they are in the day of their appearance, which would be like their birthday, and their conversion. That would be when they converted to the Lord, I would assume. Splendor produced splendor. In other words, your brightness affects the brightness of other stars. And their conversion was into the number of the angels and of the faithful. In other words, they're comparing the angels and the faithful to the splendor of stars. Then I inquired of the angel who proceeded with me, and he explained to me secret things, what their names were. He answered, a similitude of those has the Lord of spirits shown thee. They are the names of the righteous who dwell upon the earth, and who believe in the name of the Lord of spirits, forever and ever. We each have a star in heaven. Call it what you want, a beacon, a reminder. Once we're off of this plane, being reunited with heaven one day, but it shines as bright as the faithfulness. Now, just the other day, I found something that was chilling in the book of Daniel, because there is something similar spoken by the archangel Michael to Daniel. In other words, it appears that Michael is quoting from the book of Enoch. Let's read Daniel chapter 12. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. Now many believe the archangel Michael is Jesus himself. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. Does that sound like Michael is quoting from the book of Enoch? It sure does to me. And that is where we got the name Enter the Stars, because you have a choice. You enter the dragon or you enter the stars, which is being reunited with God after making the choice of faith to serve him and to get off this plane. Or do you want to stay on the plane and serve the devil? That's what this all boils down to. Do you believe in the material realm or do you keep your eyes fixed on heaven? That's all that matters. And the choices you make in your life, you're either making choices for this life or you're making choices for the next. And that's it. I love each and every one of you. Always make the right choice. Take care and be safe, you guys.